Welcome to our posts. Today. We will see stories of entitled parents. My parents assume they are going to move in with me when they are old. I was on the phone with them this morning because they called after I texted them an update on my husband's and my house hunting adventure. I am currently pregnant with baby #3 and live safely 15-ish hours away from these people who birthed and raised me while simultaneously messed me up mentally and emotionally. Why I stay in contact with them nowadays is becoming more and more of a mystery to me. But here we are. Well, while looking at one of the houses I was describing online, my dad asked where would they stay in the future. Stupidly thinking as a guest. I mentioned one of the extra rooms could be a multipurpose room. If you have an air mattress and you're coming for a visit, there you go. This house has 4 bedrooms, 5 if you count one of the rooms on the main floor. He then asked about permanently, further in the future. I said, permanently? He said, when I retire or sometime after that, stairs won't be your mom's and my friends around then. Me, you think you will be living with us? Entitled Dad, of course. Me, no. Entitled Dad, we can help with the kids. Me, no. My mom, remember, we always talked about this when you were younger. Me, no. Dad, what? Are you going to put us in a home? Me, you'll make friends. Dad, well, that's not nice of you. Me, I never said I was. The discussion ended after that. Update on my parents assume they will live with me when they are old. My 29F husband 28M and I are house hunting as we are expecting our 3rd baby in November and are hoping to move out of our trailer park by the end of the summer. We were interested in a house that was essentially my dream home. Victorian, built in but completely refurbished on the inside, but with all original wood floors and detailing. Gorgeous. A house like this would easily be $200,000 last year or the year before. But the housing market is dropping, and we found it for approx. $140,000. We live in the Midwest. It has 4 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms. My parents, the other day, asked where they would stay when we come to live with you. This was never a discussion. They just always assumed they would live with me when they are older. I always said no. Well, we messaged the finance person about what the monthly payments would really be. On the app, it estimated $950 plus a month. We figured we could swing that, but needed to know for sure before putting an offer in. She came back with over $1K. Not doable for us. We are going through a program and have a grant, so we aren't rich. Lower middle class at best. Thankfully, we have another house we had in mind. A craftsman style, built in 1920, with built-ins, wood floors, and a nice-sized fenced-in backyard. The basement even has a slightly finished room, perfect for hiding from storms and tornadoes. And it's $20K less than the dream house. It's just a little smaller, and bedrooms were pretty small. But it's something I was willing to deal with. We saw it before we saw the dream house. Well, when updating my parents on the house situation, my mom all but threw a fit. You don't have to go with the first house you see. Me, it wasn't. You can wait until something else comes up. Me, actually, no, we can't. Some weird law was passes in our state in regards to realtors, and our realtor wants us to find a house before it goes into full effect in July-August, which just gives us more incentive to find a house pronto. So far, no other houses have popped up in our area in our budget. You are about to have your 3rd kid. Where are you going to put him? Me, bunk beds are a thing. Are you going to sleep in the basement if you have more? Me, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's so tiny. Me, it's bigger than what pictures show. But yes, compared to the dream house, it's definitely smaller than that. But it's also more realistic. I knew what she was really worried about. Where will we stay? But she didn't say it. She started looking at other houses on the app and tried to bring them up to me. They were all houses we had already looked at or were too far away from my husband's work. She was really trying. My dad was pretty chill about the whole thing. She even brought up a house that needed serious work. "We want to live in the house, Mom, and we don't want a money pit." She practically growled at me. The call soon ended after that. Ida, for all of those explaining the realtor law thing to me in the comments, thank you. My husband did explain it to me as well, but I do better with reading information than hearing it. Also, I mentioned this in a few comments, but it might be buried soon. The Craftsman is not looking doable for us either unless it goes down in price by like $10K. We only qualified for %3 down in our program, so we would still be paying more than we can want to each month. We are looking at other houses, some a little further away from my husband's job. It seems all the more affordable houses that are in decent shape are almost an hour commute from my husband's work, which is something we are okay with. We aren't overly happy about it, but are willing to roll with it because it's not the worst thing in the world. Next story. Neighbor thinks her kid's bedtime should decide when I can do my hobbies. My neighbor F27 has 5 kids and 1 more on the way. She doesn't work, she's not ill or anything, just chooses not to lives off benefits and is all sorts of entitled. Tonight, I was working on my brother's birthday present, and this included needing to make a few cuts with a chop saw. It was 9 p.m. and I was done by 9:15 p.m. In my country, the curfew for noise disturbance is 11:30 p.m. She then sends me this long FB message about how her kid's bedtime is 8 p.m. and therefore I need to not use power tools after that time, and could I only use them in the daytime so as to not wake her kids. I replied saying I was done now. Bear in mind she sent that message after literally less than 10 minutes of noise and that I couldn't confine my usage to daytime because I have a job. I could have said a lot more. I felt like saying to her, "Your kids are going to be living with a screaming newborn in a few months, so maybe focus on teaching them to sleep without it being perfectly silent," but I restrained myself. Even so, the very little I did say clearly set her off. She sent me another paragraph about her kids needing to be ready for school at 8 a.m. before blocking me. Next story. She's under 10, so she eats for free. I own a small restaurant, classic American foods, decent prices, kid-friendly. One of our policies is that kids 10 and under can get anything off the kids' menu for free. The stuff on the kids' menu is cheap. Like, a bowl of mac and cheese with some chicken nuggets isn't breaking my bank on food cost. A hot dog and some fries aren't gonna bankrupt me. Last night, I was sitting in the office watching some YouTube videos when I noticed a family that I know personally. Their daughter 12F is friends with my granddaughter 13F. When I see people I know, I have a tendency to sort of take over the table. The server still gets the tip, but I give the table a lot of extra attention. So, I stop over and say hi, and I check their ticket in the computer out of curiosity. The dad got our 22 Oz porterhouse with a fully dressed potato butter, cheese, sour cream, bacon, chili, ranch dressing, and crispy fried onions. The mom got our fried catfish and hush puppies. The daughter got our pulled pork cheeseburger with onion rings. Note: daughter ordered off the main menu, not the kids' menu. Anyway, they spend about 40 minutes eating, drinking, and generally being merry. Both myself and their server are keeping an eye on their drinks, making sure they are having a good experience. I even gave them 5 free credits on the jukebox just to be nice. I head back to the office to take a phone call, and while I'm back there, I notice a commotion on the cameras at that very same table. Before I can make it to the dining room, the server is in the kitchen, heading towards my office. Apparently, there was a mistake with their tab, and their daughter's meal should have been free. The server tried to explain that that only applies to items on the kids' menu, and the girl had ordered off the main menu. The explanation fell on deaf ears. So, I head out to solve the problem. I explain that not only did the girl order off the main menu, but I know for a fact that their daughter is not 10 or under. since my granddaughter had been to her 12th birthday party back in March. The mom tried to argue, but the dad put his hand up, apologized for his wife's behavior, and passed me his card to pay. Before they had even left my establishment, the mom already left a nasty and completely false Google review, stating that we lie about our policies and kids don't really get free meals. Next story. My parents are letting my wife and I rent their second house, and they think that gives them the right to tell us how to live. I'm in a tough spot with my parents. They offered me their second home at half the market rate, which I accepted and asked them to vacate the previous tenant. However, they often insult me and my Chinese wife, with my mom making racist remarks about her culture, and my dad belittling me and telling me without them I'd starve to death, despite the fact I have a successful career. The house needs new flooring, and they expect me to cover the cost. Despite their financial help, they still treat me like a teenager, offering unsolicited advice and insults. After a recent fight where my dad called me a prepubescent idiot and my mom went on a racist rant, I left the property without helping them repaint it. I told them I'm not moving in and they can do what they want with the house. I said this with a ton of rage and profanity. My therapist told me as an adult you have a mom and dad, not parents, because you're responsible for yourself. When I said that to my parents, they both flipped out saying I'm being brainwashed and that I don't love them. It's like making me live their way is always the end goal. I only have value to them if I'm how they want. TL Doctor, am I in the wrong here for standing up to their behavior and deciding not to live there? I did make them lose a tenant, but at the same time I feel extremely disrespected. Clarification. My wife doesn't know about the racism. Luckily, my parents and I are bilingual, so she doesn't know what they said. She just knows they're jerks. Clarification 2. We still live in our current apartment. This was an offer I rejected. Update. This is an update to my previous post about my parents letting my wife and I rent their second house for half the market rate. I'm 34 and living with my wife in our apartment. Growing up, I didn't realize I was being neglected and abused, but after a lot of reflection and therapy, I've come to the realization that my parents are to blame for a lot of my mental health issues. It started when I was a child and my parents left me with my grandma when I was a few months old so they could go work abroad for 4 years. I believe both my parents have unaddressed mental illnesses. My dad is textbook case of narcissistic personality disorder, and my mom is a textbook case of OCP. Personally, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, although both my parents believe mental illnesses are a hoax created by Big Pharma. My father often gives unsolicited advice, delivered through yelling and calling me and anyone he doesn't approve of a loser. My mother often yells about every little thing. You got some breadcrumbs on the floor that's the same as covering the whole floor in mud, and she will explode with rage. She believes hitting and yelling are the best ways to get her point across. I feel like my dad has never gotten his narcissistic supply from my mom because she is incapable of showing affection. Both my parents are hardcore Trump supporters, and when they found out I voted for Biden, they were so furious they threatened me and didn't want to even speak to me for a while. This was initiated by my mom. My dad's go-to threat was that he would break things and hit me if I didn't comply with him or if I showed any signs of disrespect towards him. One time he beat me up because I refused to take his dirty plate to the sink. Another time he came home and poured my soup down the drain, saying that soup is for poor people and you won't eat it. Or when my mom couldn't find work, he constant went after her for being lazy and taking advantage of him, despite the fact that she was trying hard to get a job. This behavior has not changed. Even as a 34-year-old adult, when I last saw them, he threatened my mom that he would hit her if she didn't stop interrupting him. Both my parents have said that since they're parents, they deserve the utmost respect, and they will never steer me wrong because they have good intentions. When I tried to set boundaries with them, they took that as offensive, saying I'm ungrateful and I don't love them. They refused to pay for my college because they said I'm too lazy, and if I don't have a fire under my butt, I won't try hard at all. but at the same time completely dismissed my ADHD diagnosis. They only seem to care about me if they can mold me into their image. They're always trying to tell me how to live my life and never bothered to see me as an individual, but keep telling me they do it out of love. I guess they think what they do is helping me because they do it with that intention. I've told them multiple times I don't want kids, and they respond with threats telling me, "Why are we slaving away for you? You know everything we've worked for you're eventually going to have. We're not paying you to eat and crap. You need to have a family." Next story. Entitled Disney Adult Demands That I Change Clothes in the Middle of a Crowded Restaurant. To preface, this situation came up a few years back, but still lives rent-free in my mind from how absurd it was. I was on a family vacation at Disney World a few years back. I, 19 at the time, was staying on property at a resort, but on our first night, we had dining reservations at a different hotel that was a fair distance away. It was a casual buffet-style restaurant, so there was no dress code or reason to be fancy. So I wore a pair of shorts and a graphic tee of a unicorn that said, "Everything sucks" in a glittery cursive font. About halfway into dinner, when I got up to get seconds, a woman probably in her 40s stepped up to physically block me and immediately started shouting in my face about my obscene clothing. I just stood there, completely baffled, while she went on and on about her young children who were calmly eating on the other side of the room being distressed by my disgusting and inappropriate shirt, and then demanded I take it off. In the middle of the restaurant. When I told her I don't exactly carry replacement clothes with me, she demanded that I go to the gift shop and buy a new, family-friendly shirt. Specifically one with Disney princesses or Minnie on it, because that's what her children would like to see. At that point, I didn't want to deal with her anymore and said that I'm not here to appeal to kids I don't even know. The waitress would have stopped me at check-in if there was a problem with my clothing, and I just wanted to eat my dinner and leave. I walked away to get the rest of my meal and left her screaming at me for a few minutes before she eventually gave up. Hope those kids turned out okay. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel. Our posts